All right, let's get into this. We're going to explore a really fascinating story about how an ancient king's vow to stop a drought is directly connected to a cosmic ritual that's still performed today. It's an amazing tale of a kingdom in crisis, a huge moral choice, and what happens next.
So, picture this. We start in what was basically a perfect kingdom. It was ruled by a king from the solar dynasty named Mandata. And this guy wasn't just any king. He was seen as this universal emperor, known for being incredibly powerful and fair. The stories say he looked after his people like they were his own kids. I mean, under his rule, everyone was happy, they were well off, and the kingdom was just thriving. The earth itself was said to be like the mythical wish-fulfilling cow, Kamadenu, just providing everything everyone needed. But then, that perfect picture just shatters. For 3 straight years, not one drop of rain fell from the sky. Imagine that! The heavens just went silent, and this awful drought took hold of the entire land.
And this is where things get really bad. The kingdom is now in serious peril. Because, a lack of rain isn't just a small problem. It starts a chain reaction that threatens to tear their whole society apart.
So his people, totally desperate, come to him. The crops were dead, religious rituals had stopped, and hunger was everywhere. They begged him for help, reminding him of this fundamental truth you see here from their scriptures. No rain means no food, and no food means, well, they'd all perish.
And King Mandata, he knew they were right. He understood it was his responsibility. So he makes this incredibly serious promise to them. He swore he would find a way to fix this, to end their suffering, whatever it took.
So the king heads out, right? He goes on this quest into the forest, searching for an answer. And eventually, this journey leads him to a powerful sage named Angurasa, and a choice that is, well, it's a really difficult one.
After the king explains the whole terrible situation, the sage uses his deep insight to figure out the root of the problem. And what he finds is this. The drought was caused by a vrishala, basically someone who wasn't following the proper religious rules, who was performing intense spiritual practices in the kingdom. This one act had thrown the entire cosmic order completely out of whack.
So here's the moment it all comes down to. The sage gives the king 2 options, and they could not be more different. Path number 1 was quick and violent. Find this Vrishala and kill him to restore balance. But the second path was a spiritual one. Have the entire kingdom, everyone, observe a sacred vow called the Padmavrat.
Now this is what I find so compelling. This is where you see the king's real character. He's got this easy but violent outburst, and he completely rejects it. He just can't bring himself to harm someone who, in his eyes, is innocent, even if it could save his kingdom. He begs the sage for another way, a peaceful way.
So, having made his choice, the path of peace, the king rushes back to his city. He's ready to put this vow into action, hoping against hope that it's the thing that will save them all.
And they do it. On the Ekadashi, which is the 11th day of the lunar cycle in the month of Bhadrava, King Mandata, his family, and every single one of his subjects, from the most powerful ministers to the simplest farmers, they all observed the Padmavrat together, as one. And the result? It was nothing short of a miracle. The second they completed the vow, the skies just opened up. The texts say good, heavy rains came down, the land was flooded with that life-giving water, and before long, the fields were green and overflowing with crops. The kingdom was saved.
What an incredible story, right? It's all about moral courage and what a community can do when they act together. But here's the thing. This isn't just some old myth collecting dust. It really makes you ask, how does a powerful story like this actually live on in our world today?
Well, that ancient vow has transformed into a festival that's celebrated right now. It's called Parsva Parivartini Ekadashi, and its meaning goes way beyond just a story about rain. It's cosmic.
The name literally translates to the turning of the side. So the belief is that on this specific day, Lord Vishnu, who's in a state of cosmic sleep for a few months, actually turns over from one side to the other. And this one small movement is seen as this huge shift in cosmic energy, a moment of divine renewal for the entire universe.
And this is where myth becomes ritual. In famous places like the Sri Jagannath Temple in Puri, this whole cosmic event is acted out through these really beautiful and complex ceremonies that directly echo that ancient story we just talked about.
The preparations are just massive. It's a whole series of steps.
The deities get a grand ceremonial bath, they're dressed in new clothes, they get sandalwood paste applied, special sacred threads are prepared in a fire ceremony. It's all this build-up for the main event.
And here's something that shows you just how special this day is. There's a major ritual called the Bhadasimhara Besha. It's a very specific offering and way of dressing the deities. Normally it happens once a day. On this day, it happens twice. That's a huge signal that this is an incredibly sacred time.
Okay, so the peak moment of the whole day is the turning ritual itself. It's this very careful, very precise sequence. Priests have to unseal the sacred bedchamber, then they offer white flowers to the sleeping deity, and they physically perform the act of turning its side. And after that, everything is carefully closed up and sealed again until the next year.
And the whole point of doing all this, the spiritual reward, it directly mirrors the outcome of the original story. Just like King Mandahata brought back prosperity, observing this day is said to grant bhukti, that's worldly success and enjoyment. And just like he made a righteous choice, it also offers mukti, which is ultimate spiritual liberation.
So that kind of leaves us with one last big thought, doesn't it? The story of King Mandahata is all about facing a huge crisis by making a moral choice and taking collective action. It makes you wonder, when we face our own modern-day droughts, whether they're environmental, or social, or even personal, where do we find the courage to take that difficult, peaceful path? What are the vows that we can make together that might just make it rain for us?